Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Not a Legal Podcast. My name is Haley and this is Adam and Sabrina. So basically this podcast, we talk about hot topics of our generation from three people who are in the legal field. So, but it's not a legal podcast. We're just in the legal field.
Yes.
Yeah, but I know Adam, you want to talk about...
It's a trick.
I know you want to talk about something from our last episode.
Last episode we were talking about prostitution. Obviously a huge issue. Probably something that's swept under the rug, I feel like. You know, you don't really hear about it that much, but it's a huge issue. And I had mentioned on the last episode how I thought prostitution was probably $1 billion industry in the United States. I did a little research. Turns out it's about a $15 billion industry.
Oh my God. In the United States?
In the United States alone. Okay. I mean, across the rest of the world, the numbers were just similar in other countries. I think China was the biggest.
What?
Yeah, like 25 billion or something like that. But anyway,
China.
In the United States, $15 billion industry. And that goes back to what I was talking about taxing. You know, taxing this. If we legalize it, how it could then be taxed and it could be regulated, and whether that should happen, whether, you know, it should be legalized and stuff. I mean, obviously 20% tax on that 15 billion, that's 3 billion right there, can help. Plus then you can regulate it, you can make sure it's being done safely, you can have people tested for STDs and other things like that. You can divert a lot of the resources that are being spent, the police, the criminal justice center, the prosecutors, all of them can be diverted away and used, you know, to prosecute more serious things like child prostitution, those types of things.
I wonder if people would stop doing that then. I feel like the price would go up for prostitution, and like the price of prostitutes would be like expensive and people wouldn't want to do it anymore.
I mean, it's legal in Nevada, so there's
Is it
already
like popping in Nevada? Like people do it? Like
I know that there's like brothels there. I remember
There's like
watching.
no laws in Nevada.
But you know, obviously, there's a framework out there that's working. They've been had that for a long time.
So I wonder, like,
the rest of the United States could adopt a similar thing, which has laws. They have all sorts of laws in place. It's very, very regulated. It's taxed. And, you know, you go into a place, I remember there was an HBO special on one called, like, The Bunny Ranch. And, you basically go in and Lamar Odom.
That's the one he was at, I think so.
I was about to say, like, Khloe Kardashian's husband or whatever he was. I remember a couple years ago, he OD'd at one of them.
I heard that one guy who owns one of them in Nevada, he actually ran for some office in Nevada, and he passed away. I heard. Right
during the thing.
The election.
It's out there. It's a business,
like
just
big.
like a weed business is out here. I mean, you know, it's obviously something that's not. It's not like the same as running a pie shop and selling pies, but like it's a legal business. You could run for office.
I just thought it was a really dirty pie joke as you said that. And we open this show with prostitution. Welcome.
Yes,
everyone.
welcome. But what do you think?
I totally agree with your idea. I think the idea is that it's going to happen no matter what. That's really what it came down to with medical and recreational marijuana as well, right? It's if you can find statistics that will support that it's safe, which I think that you will, and I think that that's a stereotype that it doesn't exist, right? That it's this totally like unregulated, unsafe, like depicted on a TV, like super dirty prostitution ring, and it's not like that, and that's what led the discussion from the last episode. So the idea is that it's going to happen anyways, and that it does work for some places, and we're just losing, you know, taxable money. And I totally agree. I don't know if I would vote on it on a ballot today because I'm still a little bit split on it, but I would say that if I were to vote for it, that would be why, because it's something that could help our economy.
I feel like I can see a lot of conservative politicians voting for it, just like they don't vote for like weed to be legal.
What do you think, though? Don't think about what the politicians think. I want to know what you think.
I mean, I think it would be a good taxable industry, and I think.
Do you think it would be safer for the people that are doing it now? $15 billion every year being spent on. Obviously, a lot of people are involved.
Yeah, and it's less shady when you have it taxed than when it's like something that's legal. It's less shady, and it's going to be less prone to like trafficking and stuff like that. I mean, that could help. I could see that, but I just don't see it happening anytime soon. Just like weed isn't happening anytime soon federally.
I would definitely not say that. I think it is happening.
You think so?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's happening
know.
soon, but it takes steps. You know, if
It
you
takes steps,
if
exactly.
you don't ever talk about it or even think about it, you're never going to get anywhere. Because by the time the law is passed in, like one of the laws on the ballot this year
For California.
for California.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, good transition.
Yeah, the ballots and voting.
California election. One of the laws on the ballot was regarding daylight savings time. Did you guys see that one?
I heard about that.
It was if we voted to give the legislature the authority to change it.
Exactly.
So we weren't actually
What was it?
voting
Yeah,
to change
okay.
it. We were saying we're going to let the legislator now have the power to do that.
Exactly.
Did that pass?
It did pass.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they get rid of daylight savings. I think it's the fucking stupidest thing ever.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree.
Wait,
you know, we
in
don't.
California, so we would just be off from everyone else?
Some places don't. Some places don't.
Arizona
daylight
doesn't
savings.
do daylight savings time.
It's
Oh.
it's very
Okay.
strange. The whole time zones and crap like that weird me out. Because I was in Mexico this past weekend. Normally they would only be an hour behind us, but because we do the daylight savings and they don't, I was then at that point 2 hours behind where California was. But I really wasn't that far geographically speaking away
Okay.
from where we are now. Yeah, so states
trippy.
and countries, they can do it or they cannot do it.
Okay, I didn't know that was a choice. Like,
Sorry
you
to
can
cut
just
you off.
choose.
Back to what you were saying though.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting because that you would think that that's a state regulated area,
Mhm.
but we voted to give the federal authority to vote it out. But the point is that you have to take steps to get somewhere. And I don't think a lot of people, when they voted for that, really read it. Because I think they were thinking, like, oh, yeah, let's get rid of daylight savings time. So it's like, if you voted for it, did you really
Speaking
read
of
it?
Not knowing what's on the ballot. This was my first time being a registered voter here in California, and I was just pissed off when I got that ballot because it was four pages, or 2 pages front and back, so 4 pages, hundreds of different political positions. There was measures, like you're saying that, all sorts of stuff, judges, sheriff, all these different people.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I have graduated college, and so I'm therefore, statistically speaking, in the upper echelon of educated people,
And you're in law school.
I've been admitted into graduate school. Statistically speaking, I'm in the upper echelon of educated people, and I could not make an educated decision on who I was going to vote for. So my question is, how do our high school dropouts, how do our high school graduates, how does anyone really know what they're voting on when there's so much stuff on there and it's cryptic,
overwhelming,
and with all the different people you have to vote for, like sheriff, people might just say, oh, well, I'm just going to vote party line. The 2-party system is the dumbest thing ever. I don't think anyone should just vote party lines, because that's what's got us in the issue that we're in right now.
Right.
I voted straight Democrat.
Do not do that, because that's why we are where we're at. But the other thing is, sheriff, people might say, oh, who cares, sheriff, not really that big of a deal, not going to affect anything. No, that person will be making the policies that the rest of the sheriff's department, all these police officers, what do you call them, are going to be following. Shoot
So,
first, ask questions later, arrest, this, that, and the other. All those policies are going to be made by that police officer. And
but what do you think should be done then? I mean, we're gonna we want to vote on these people, and there's so many people that we have to vote on. What other alternative is there?
I think the alternative is more often elections, and in smaller chunks. So you're only voting on a few things. Okay. Five people max. So you can make an informed decision. Because even had I wanted to research each one of those people and make an informed decision, I wouldn't have had the time. I know our friend Kim said she spends a ton of time researching everyone.
Like, she'll sit down and just research each thing
for a few days.
Yeah, I imagine that it's probably really expensive to do that, and that might be
multiple elections.
Yeah, that's probably part of a consideration on why they don't do it like that. But I agree, it's really overwhelming, and the advice that we can at least give is, when the election is coming up, give yourself time.
Mm-hmm.
Give yourself a couple days. Go on your local district or city website, and they have all the candidates that are running, and they have a little blurb about them, and what they're for, what they're against.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was even, skimming it again on my phone when I was waiting in line, because it's a lot. It's too much, but that's not a reason to not be smart enough to do your research. You know, so
how many people do you think, statistically speaking, are actually doing that though? And how many people do you think kind of just maybe know about one or two people they want to vote for, and they go in and then they just make random votes or vote party line?
A lot of people, and
I'd say probably only like 5 to 10% of the population, if I had to guess, really know about every single thing they're voting on.
Like every single candidate, yeah. I mean,
Every single candidate, every single issue like that.
we should do a little bit of research and circle back on it next episode.
Yeah.
I can tell you that in my district where I ran, it was a good run. It was really interesting for someone who was super busy and just to go through the process, but I'm really appreciative of it. And I'm going to do it again in 2020. So
good.
Congratulations on your run.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Stoked to hear you're going to run again.
Thank you.
And
Yes.
we'll definitely be, out there campaigning.
And I'm going to start super early this year. And going back, same thing. Elections, they're really important. And they're really meaty with information. And people just think about it, when it's the day of. And they don't think about it any other time. And, even with campaigning, I learned I need to start a lot sooner. And I need to be able to carve out the amount of time to do everything that I need to do to campaign. But even then, the statistics are kind of sad, especially for a midterm election. I had 15,000 people that lived in the district I ran. 11,000 were registered voters. Only 3,500 voted.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, it's very, very low.
Wow.
So
How many of those people do you think just voted because they saw a sign with the person's name on it?
exactly.
That's my point.
Yes.
But, as far as voting goes, I think that the majority of people who are going in, they're uninformed. They're just either subconsciously or consciously voting for the person that they saw a sign of on the corner of their street or a Facebook ad on their phone. I was getting tons of Facebook ads on my Facebook leading up. And I think that even if it's subconscious, they're probably just voting on that. And that's the worst thing that we can have happen is the people are just voting for whoever has the most money to spend on marketing. And that's why, again, that's why we're at where we're at.
Yes.
Because people are not making informed decisions. People are voting on the two-party line. And people are just seeing an ad and then voting for that person.
Right.
Which, as we know, the money is what gets the ad. So the campaigns are being bought. America's government will decline substantially if things continue this way. And if part of it goes back to the elections are just filled with so much stuff, and it could be maybe the two-party system, the two parties want it to be that way.
Right.
Because they know that people are just going to vote party lines. If we did anything else, then people would be able to make a more informed decision, realize maybe they like the Republican more than the Democrat. But
the point is make sure you
do your research.
Do your research
ahead of time.
The next election is really important for us here in the United States. So
Exactly.
This one was a big one too.
Yeah, pay attention.
But back to your campaign. You said you're going to run again.
Yes.
So how did it all work out, and how did you because I've always been really interested in politics.
Right.
I've always wanted to run. Obviously, I think city council is where most people start, so that's probably where I would start and stuff. Tell me a little bit about the day.
I was in trial.
The election day.
I was in trial all day.
Okay.
I did not follow it. I was getting updates from my boyfriend and my parents because I was literally in trial.
And could they see live what the votes were?
Yes, they did.
Where do you see that?
You just go onto the website for your local area, and you see the numbers go up. My mom kept checking.
Which is exciting though.
So it was fun, but it was a little bit sucky this year because I couldn't do it freely. I'm right now engaged in a 6-week jury trial in Riverside, so I can't do anything, and I couldn't spend it with my boyfriend. I was staying out there for the election, so it wasn't anything huge for me that day because I just couldn't follow it until the end of the day when I was done.
Yeah, because I was on social media and stuff. I was looking to see if maybe she was gonna have because I know
watch
some
party.
campaigns they do something like
I
that.
can't.
Yeah.
No.
Did you do anything?
I just went to dinner. I'm so bogged down in this trial right now, and I think that's definitely affected the election and the ability to campaign. So the takeaway from it is, you have to start early and you have to be able to devote as much time as possible to it. But I think that even if you can only devote a little bit of time, it's good to at least go through the process and figure it out so that by the time you do have a lot of free time to campaign really hard, you know exactly what to do.
And you got your name out there.
Exactly. So
you got the experience.
it was super fun. Yeah, it was really fun. So it was good. Thanks, guys.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
Wait, did you see my posts?
I did. Yes, I
I was
did.
blasting it, man.
I know,
I know, I saw them there on Facebook
I
and
know.
Instagram. Yeah.
And you guys were texting me too,
Yeah.
but I'm telling you, like, this trial has completely consumed my life. Once you're in it, you can't do anything else. And you can't even think about, like, what you're going to do in 3 weeks. Like, you can only deal with the trial every day, day to day. Because everything with trial is a game time decision. It's strategy. You don't know what the other side is going to pull. You don't know what kind of motions they're going to bring up to the court. You don't know what witnesses they might add to the list real last minute. Like, you have no idea. So everything is a constant legal, like,
I didn't know they
analysis.
could add witnesses last minute. I thought everything has to be like
I don't
approved.
think you're supposed to, but I think you can, right?
You're not supposed to, but the law is so gray that
And, you know, the courts, they're like, yo, we're not going to exclude this witness that you're now saying is going to be have
that's so
relevant
easy. You
information.
can easily just act like
yeah. I mean, there's
That's
different.
strategy. That's all part of the strategy, right?
There's different
What's
avenues.
up?
There are different avenues to it. There are different avenues to it. You know, there's a lot of law in motion, meaning going into court, asking the court for something, having to draft paperwork that supports your position, and then you go in and you have that hearing, and the court rules on that issue. So it's just like, you know, that's why it takes 6 weeks, because it just goes on forever.
So speaking of, I want to talk about jury duty.
Yes.
So have any of you guys ever
I've
been on a jury?
I've never been on a jury.
I have been pulled to be on a jury, but I always get stricken because I'm an attorney. So they usually don't want people on a jury. I've had an attorney on a jury, which is great.
I feel like they're helpful. They know more.
Super helpful, yeah.
They can kind of
I
sway
would want
the
an
rest of
attorney
them.
on my jury, no matter what side I was on, just because you know that they can be objective.
Yeah.
We're taught in law school to be objective.
Yeah,
That's why
I was just thinking, I was like, man, I don't know,
to
maybe not.
analyze. And we're taught to be able to analyze.
it doesn't always fit so pretty like that.
Yeah,
you know?
because what if you get an attorney who's like a defense attorney
Yeah.
and you
People
Your criminal case and
yeah,
your
you
defense.
prosecution.
people are going to act on personal experiences and act on biases no matter what, no matter whether you're a lawyer or not. Judges are like that. Attorneys are like that. That's why we said this at the last, or maybe one of our other podcasts when we did it for Washington State, that attorneys are just normal people. So, you know, it's not so black and white, because if you were, the jury that I got pulled for once was a police officer getting into a car accident with a civilian, and
Was it a civil case?
it was a civil case, and this case had already, liability was already admitted. So the only part of the jury was damages.
Okay.
That's the only thing that needed to be decided.
Okay.
And they didn't want me on the jury because I would decide it exactly the way that it should be decided, you know? And depending on what side you're on, that might not fit for you. You have to do what's best for your client. You're advocating for a client. Somebody is paying you a lot of money to be there. You know, and if you sit there and say, well, they analyze it properly, but they might analyze it in a way that's not so good for you, you're not going to want that person on the jury.
Well, obviously, as the plaintiff in that case is going to want all the sympathetic ears,
Yeah.
Yes.
not an attorney.
Totally. So that brings up jury duty, and I remember when I sat on that jury, there was a lady that was like, I just love the Irvine Police Department. The Irvine Police Department is the best. Like,
Did they get?
Oh my
did
gosh.
they kick her off?
they did. She played it so smooth.
Do you think
man.
she was saying
No,
that
she was
on
probably
purpose,
faking,
or do you
yeah.
think she was
Nobody
serious?
loves the police.
No, there's people out there
There,
that do.
you know, I don't
There's people
know.
out there that do.
Because remember, you're dealing with the general public when it comes to jury duty, right? So these people, they could be from anywhere with any background. You have no idea who
People
they are.
genuinely
Well,
like them. They don't love the police. People
I think
genuinely like
I
them.
think it was
Love
my
it.
trial practice professor.
Bailey.
I think it was my trial practice professor who said, like, the jurors that get pulled are the ones who were too stupid to come up with an excuse to get out of it. So you're already
Totally.
starting off with, like, people who, because everyone else can come up with an excuse if they don't want to be there.
Totally. I had a boss once that would walk into a courtroom as a pooled juror, and he would walk by one of the attorneys when they put him up in the jury room, and he would just put his hand out and shake his hand like, so nice to see you, man. And he would make the impression like he knows the lawyer, because you have to be
Oh my
stricken
God.
Just so he can
because
get off.
you know the
Wow.
lawyer. Yeah.
And so then you get
That's
stricken.
funny.
Huh?
That's a
And
good
then
one.
He'd get stricken.
He would get stricken, yeah.
That's
And we
a
don't
good
advise
one.
that you do stuff
Yeah,
like that
don't
because it
do
is
that.
your civic duty to serve on
No,
a jury.
in all seriousness though,
To
Yeah.
get
doing,
out of it. Like that.
jury duty is very important. People don't realize it. Before I came to law school and started down this legal journey, I probably would have tried to get myself out of it if I could have. But now, knowing what I know, even civil cases, in criminal cases, someone's life is on the line. Either they go to jail and they lose all their liberties, or they go home to their family. And police make mistakes, prosecutors make mistakes. You can't just leave it up to. You can't just sit back and say, "Oh, I'll let the district attorney's office. They know what they're doing."
Choose.
We need good people, and we need young people. We need educated people. We need young professionals, and that's probably the population that is least represented on
A
juries is the young professionals, because we're starting out our careers. We don't want to take the time off. We can find excuses. We have families. We're starting families, so we have a bunch of reasons not to be there. It's your old retired grandmas and grandpas, and then maybe you're like younger, college students who are like, yo, I don't mind, missing class. I can get an excuse to get out of class and go. So I think that our fellow young professionals should really consider, when you get that notice, to try and go do your civic duty.
So what happens?
And-
Do you get paid to be on the jury?
The state pays you $15, I think. But
Is that just for? Do they give you
An
food
hour?
on top of that, or is that just for food
this
basically?
is the state we're talking about. What do you think jury duty is? You just go there, you
So
get
you
paid.
get a pay cut.
That's why
You
no
can
one
take a
wants to
pay
do
cut
it.
for
Some jurors
those
end up-
weeks. that you're-
Some jurors end up paying for parking somehow because there's not
That's
enough
horrible.
badges to give to them. Like, it's run by the government. You can't expect much. But there's a lot of employers out there, and I don't think people realize this, that pay for jury duty. Like big companies like Amazon and FedEx, they pay for 100% of your jury duty. So if you serve for 6 weeks, they will pay you your normal salary for that
Plus
time.
So
companies.
if I was working for them, I'd love to go on jury duty.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Take
Sit
time,
down.
like especially FedEx. You're like lugging boxes around, running all day. Like,
Yeah.
nah, I'm just gonna go and do jury duty.
I also wanted to.
Peace out.
Just sitting there on your phone. Can they be on their phones and stuff?
No.
You can't bring your phones.
You can
The
bring your
court?
phone, but you can't be. I mean, it's
I was gonna
first
say,
of all.
I know I saw a trial and I saw someone on his phone, but he was keeping it on the down low. He
Yeah.
probably wasn't supposed
Really?
to, but
I mean, first of all, that's disrespectful. Don't do that. You
what
know?
are they? I mean, what can they tell you? No, the
I
person.
thought you were allowed
I
to
had
have
my
a phone in the courtroom.
Yeah, they can. A bailiff is there, and the bailiff will tell you no. Yeah,
And
and
be
you
like,
will
"I'm a
get in
juror."
trouble.
Yeah, I guess they
No,
told you.
the lawyers are on your
juror.
phone, on their phones, but they're working throughout the entire day on laptops. We're dealing with technology, projectors, and all types of stuff. So we're constantly on our phones, but jurors can't, and they shouldn't be, because it's really serious, these trials, especially if it's a criminal trial and you're dealing with somebody's liberty. Do you want somebody who's not paying attention, who's on their phone? You shouldn't be on your phone during jury duty. It sucks to be there, but the system is in place for a reason. I don't know if I necessarily agree with it, because some of these juries come back with just ridiculous verdicts that don't make any sense, and I feel like the justice system fails in that respect sometimes, because exactly like you said, like, you don't have enough young educated people on the jury, and depending on what side you're on, you might be striking some of those people to get more of an emotional verdict rather than getting a verdict based on the facts. Really interesting, there are jury consultants out there that firms can actually hire, and they help you pick your jury, and they'll come to trial with you, and they're not necessarily lawyers, but they help with the psychology of it, and they also do research on
That's kind of cool.
public pages on the internet. So whatever you're posting on there is subject to being found by anyone. It's not illegal what you're
It's out there,
doing.
man.
It's just
It's public info.
paying for those resources to do that type of job. So
there's jury consultant companies. If you're going into a big case, you hire them. They come in, they help find out everything about that, and then they kind of tell you who you should try and get rid of and who you shouldn't.
yeah, that's basically
Because our viewers might not really understand, but as far as the jury goes, it's very, there's a lot of psychological, like you were saying.
Mhm.
I don't know how to put it other than the term I use, which is the incorrect term, but is like kind of manipulation. Like you're not, obviously has a negative connotation, but it's, when you have a case, you have to win the jury over. And so people out there might not realize it, but it has a lot to do with what the jury thinks of the attorney, what they think of the witnesses. It's not always just the facts of the case, and the specific jurors, their personal life and what they know and all of that will come into play, their life experiences. So yeah, you need to try and figure out what you can about them. psychologically what type of person they are, and then, see whether they'd be good for your case or not.
Totally. It's another component that you get from a consulting firm, for all you small law firms out there, is you also get the reports from the jurors when the trial is over. Now, not all the jurors will agree to do it, but you'll get a handful of them that are, gunners and want to help out. And they talk about what witnesses they liked, what they didn't like, if they didn't like an attorney, what facts they believed, what they believed, one side needed to do stronger. You get a lot of analysis.
And then they give that to you, the firm.
Yes, and they give it to us.
You get to study that and learn from it.
Yeah.
Are you very familiar with jury nullification? It's so I read about this actually recently, and basically, for our listeners and everyone out there who don't know what it is, jury nullification is kind of something that's not really talked about that much, because it's where a jury will say, okay, the law is this, but we're going to go ahead and although the elements are met, we're going to vote maybe, the opposite way.
Okay.
So let's say the elements were met for a guilty verdict. We're going to vote not guilty. And it all started with this case back in the early of the United States. And, England was when England was controlling us, controlling the United States. And there was like some law where you couldn't talk bad about the king or whatever. And there was this guy, whoever it was, John Adams or whoever he was. It wasn't him, but someone like him, who was handing out pamphlets saying like, something bad, the taxes, whatever. He gets arrested. They take him to court, and the court was here in the United States. And based on the law, he should have been found guilty. But the jury came back and they returned a verdict of not guilty. That was the first time it ever happened. Jury nullification. And I read this whole article about how, is allowed to be talked about. Basically, could the attorneys talk about it? And no, you can't legally talk about it, because you're essentially telling the jury that they can, because the jury can vote however they want. The judge and the attorneys will tell them, this is the law, you've heard the facts, now apply the facts to the law. But there's this not a doctrine, but there's this idea called jury nullification, where they can just vote however they want. I mean, obviously they can vote however they want, and the idea is that the jury will then say, no, we're going to vote on morally what we think should be done. Like in the case where the law was you can't talk bad about the king, they're like, this is a bullshit law. We're going to not convict him, he's telling the truth. But he's getting in trouble for telling the truth. There's been other instances, and I was reading that maybe in the O.J. Simpson case, they felt that it might have been jury nullification, that the jury thought he's guilty, but for whatever reason, they said, we're not going to find him.
I think that my view of watching the O.J. series as an attorney after actually practicing law, I think that that's probably 100% accurate, because the thing is that the law and the evidence and the way that it was handled is what reached a not guilty verdict, because you have to have beyond a reasonable doubt. That is the standard in a criminal case. And if you don't have that, even though you know that there's all this other evidence that pretty much points someone into being guilty, you have to comply with the rules and the laws and the rules of evidence and how you handle evidence and how you litigate the case. Because malpractice is not, based on just being lazy or negligent. It's strategy. And it's making sure that all the rules are being followed. And that's the role of a defense attorney. Defense attorneys are not here to represent bad people. We're here to make sure that all the rules are being complied with. Yeah. So if the DA is bringing charges against you and they're not following the rules, that should either be a mistrial or you can't find him guilty, because you can't trace all of the evidence, let's say. And that was my takeaway from OJ. And it kind of goes definitely towards that concept of jury nullification.
Yeah. I just thought it was interesting because you're a law student. Have you ever heard?
No.
Yeah, it's not taught in law school.
I mean, that case sounded familiar, but I don't.
It's not really something that's talked about, and the general public doesn't really know about it. But there was a bunch of interesting cases where the attorneys wanted to be able to bring it up and tell the jury, like, hey, you guys can vote however you want.
Sorry.
But anyways, my point is that for all of our listeners, our lay people, if you ever go on a jury, which you should, do your civic duty. There's this thing called jury nullification. You can vote however you want.
Yes.
If morally you feel like and it was more, and again,
so it's basically not following the jury instructions, kind of.
It was again back like when there was slavery, again, when that was being abolished, a lot of juries would like find not guilty of an African American person who may have violated a law that was a complete bullshit law. Like, I don't know all of them, but let's say it was a law that was like, black people can't, I don't know, what were some laws back then? I don't know anything.
You
You
can't
can't talk to a white person. You can't talk to a white person.
Yeah,
or
you
something
can't
like
go
that.
to a restaurant.
And then they did it.
You can't vote.
You can't breathe.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's laws like that, and then this person's arrested, and the prosecutor comes up and he proves all the facts, and then the judge says, "This is the law," and the jury's like, "Holy shit!" They're in the back in the room deliberating, and they're like, "Yeah, the guy he break the law, but this is a bullshit law. We're not going to throw this guy in jail for breathing." So that's what's called jury nullification. I'm sure it happens more often than we hear about, but it's not really talked about, and I think it should be because it's important.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely don't advise to rule
because I feel like
against the law.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that.
Because I can go in the opposite direction,
I can't say that
too.
as a licensed attorney to rule against the law,
Yeah.
But I understand why it exists.
Yeah, it's a concept that exists. I mean,
I feel like
I'm just bringing up the concept and saying it's out there.
Jury instructions and they're telling you the elements, and then you're like, oh, I'm just going to do jury nullification. And what if the elements are for someone who's like being wrongly discriminated against, and you're just like, I don't really care. Right. And then I'm just going to go against it because I don't really care. I'm going to like talk everyone else into it, and because I can do it because it's jury nullification. I feel like they should ultimately just. You can't bring your own opinions into it. That seems like you're bringing your own opinions into the.
There's been Supreme Court justices who they've said yes, jury nullification is a concept that's allowed, but the attorneys are not allowed to like tell the jury and argue that, hey, the other side proved all their facts, but jury nullification. But it is, there have been some Supreme Court justices. I believe Justice Cardozo, who is a prominent, I don't think he was ever a Supreme Court justice, I'm not sure, but he was a very prominent judge.
Yeah, we read his
we read his cases for torts and crap. He talked about it in the article I was reading and stuff. So I know it's obviously something as attorneys we shouldn't be advocating for, but it is something that is understood in the legal field that's kind of swept under the rug.
Right. Totally.
It's kind of part of the reason why I wanted to bring it up while we're on top of it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's good information.
Yeah. But let's talk about the bar exam.
Yeah, I know.
So we just got the results yesterday for the California bar exam.
California bar exam, which was taken July 14th?
No, it's probably
it was July 11th.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Ours is going to be at the end of July.
So it was July 11th. They just got the results yesterday, which was November 16th.
Yeah, other states have gotten theirs a long
a lot of
time
states
ago.
get them a month afterwards or something. It's been what? July.
4 months.
The wait is just intense. And then what was what the pass rate was?
Yes, 40. It's exactly 40.7% of the
all the takers.
3,200, a little more than 3,200 takers.
Okay.
And the first time takers passed at a rate of 55%, which is pretty high.
Pretty good.
When I took the bar exam, it was 34% or something like that.
Like in February, it was 27.
It's interesting because the overall pass rate's of 40%. The first time takers are at a 55%. So that must mean the people who are repeat takers are down at a 25%.
Yeah, they have the statistic on the state bar website.
To me, you'd think if you're taking it again, you'd have a better shot. You've taken it already once.
I wonder if they tell you.
You messed up, or you at least know you messed up, and then you go and take it again, and those people are having a worse time.
They might mess up on the same thing, because I don't know if they tell them what they did wrong. Do they?
They do if you fail only. So, if you pass, they're not going to give you your results. If you fail, they send you the breakdown, and then from there you figure out what you need to work on for the next
stressful
administration.
Did you pass on your first time?
I did.
Nice.
Yeah, I took California and in Illinois.
Oh, why'd you do that?
I thought that I was going to move to Illinois, and then Illinois has reciprocity with all the eastern states, except for Florida. So
you're licensed.
What about New York?
And New York as well.
They are?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah, so I just did it really early on, while it was still fresh in my head.
So reciprocity, for people who don't know, is where you can. So in California, you have to take the California State Bar if you want to practice law here. You can't then practice in any other state in the United States. You'd have to take their state bar, but some states, it seems like now, offer reciprocity. They're even coming out with a uniform bar exam, which would apply to a bunch of states, but that would allow you to take that bar exam and then be able to practice in a bunch of different states.
Yep, that's exactly right. California is really unique in that sense that it doesn't
In Texas.
really have reciprocity. My interesting take on that is California is the only state that has unaccredited law schools.
Oh, it is.
Really?
Yeah. So it has unaccredited like online law schools. So
Wow.
I think that it's probably the bar exam is a little bit harder just to kind of weed out a lot of people. They also are one of the few states that do like a sponsorship, like you don't have to go to
Law school.
What?
Yeah.
I did not know
Yeah.
this.
And it's almost like an apprenticeship. It's a really old
Yeah, I
form
don't
of
think
taking the
anyone uses
bar.
that anymore.
But people do it. I mean, I know a girl in New York that's doing that.
Really?
Yeah, and she's young. She's our age.
She just studied for the bar.
You're just like a paralegal basically for
For
a
like
few years.
5 years.
And then you just take the bar.
Wow.
Yeah, and then you take the bar exam. So there's, probably different considerations as to why it's not offered. I think it should always be offered. But when you take reciprocity in another state, you actually have to practice for 5 years before you can use the reciprocity. But you don't have to practice for 5 years in that state.
Okay.
You have to practice, the language is actively practicing law in any jurisdiction. So I can come back to California, practice all 5 years, and then go back to New York in 5 years.
Great. How long have you been practicing now?
I'm coming into my 5th year as of December 1st.
And then you'll be able to go practice in a bunch of different states.
Yes, after I think I have to complete the 5 year.
But you can already practice here in Illinois. Because
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not paid up. It's inactive because I'm not paid up on my dues or anything like that because I'm not there, obviously.
Yeah.
There's no need.
Did
Yeah.
you just take this one here first, and then you took the Illinois one like the next time around?
Yes. I
Okay.
took it
I'm wondering
in
how-
July the year after that.
Did you have to do a lot of studying to take that second one?
So I studied for about a month.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to take the multiple choice. So for everyone who doesn't know the components of the bar exam, it's now 2 days. When I took it, it was 3 days. And it's made up of 200 multiple choice on one day and essays on another day. And the multiple choice are uniform across all of the states, no matter what state you're in. I don't think there's any, I think it's only multi-state multiple choice questions. So because of that, some states will accept your score from the multiple choice. So then you don't have to sit for that day if it's above a certain
That makes sense.
score. So I only sat for the essay portion, so I could cut my study time in half because I wasn't practicing multiple choice. So I studied for about a month, but I'm telling you, when I got there in Illinois, they have a separate exam for licensed attorneys in other jurisdictions, and everyone around me was like, I studied for a couple hours last night, and I was so nervous. I was like, you guys are crazy, and I came in a hot mess because it was the bar exam, just studying my ass off. And they all passed.
Really?
Yeah, they all passed because the bar passage rate in Illinois is higher.
It's easier. It's an
So
easier
it's an
bar.
easier bar.
California has, I believe, the hardest
It
bar
is.
in the nation.
So we really want to give a shout out to everyone who did take the bar
And
exam
pass.
and pass.
Woo!
And those that didn't, take some time off for a couple weeks, let it register, and just wait for your results. Figure out what you did wrong, and just try it again. And if you're passionate about it, keep doing it.
And I feel like I heard that people mess themselves up the second time around by trying to work, but then you want to work because you haven't been making money because you've been out of school.
Yeah, sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
It's not an easy system, and
It's just-
because you have to wait until the next administration. It's offered 2 years a row, two
Two
years,
times a year.
2 times a year. Thank you.
Mhm.
February and July. So if you fail in July, you don't get your results till November. That's 4 months of waiting for that, and then you have to wait, you study, and then take the February one, and then wait another 4 months. Like you're out
Whole
of
year.
licensed work for an entire year.
So you're not
it's
making that
really
much money.
stressful, Yeah.
And you live in California.
Mhm.
It's just
Yeah.
odds are against you when
This
you don't
is
pass the
why,
first
yeah.
time.
I was
You have to
I was
pass the
really
first time.
excited because I saw a lot of our fellow colleagues or
Awesome.
At the school.
students who passed.
Shout out to
Just-
Western
yeah.
State.
That just gives you a lot
I'm
of
I'm really excited to see the pass rate for Western State. I bet it's going to be really good.
yeah.
And obviously we're students here. We're going to be alumni. You're an alumni. It's great to see the school doing well, getting those, getting that pass rate up. Building our, what would you call it? Not standing, but kind of rapport.
Like when I applied here, that's one of the things I looked at was like the bar passage rates.
Yes,
And so that's what
even-
people look at when they apply to the
Yep.
school, and
Right.
if it's low, they're not going to want to come here,
Yeah,
or
so
we're
it
going to lose our
helps.
accreditation.
It helps. Fucking Christ. But it just went for a whole 42 minutes.
That's good.
Okay, well, that's perfect time to like segue into a new topic though.
Yeah.
Talking about the bar.
So
What's
now
next?
the next topic is dating within the race. That's the last one.
You want to talk
Within
about
one race.
it? Or are we done at 40 minutes?
Yeah, we should put something social in there.
Yeah.
We've talked like pretty heavy legal
Okay.
stuff, and
So
it's called-
now
I
you
don't-
have, you have to
I
make a
bring it up.
transition. Be like, okay, so now I want to talk about.
Okay.
You ready?
Let's end up.
Okay, so now I kind of want to talk about. Okay, so now I kind of want to talk about the idea of dating within one race. So like
It's a fun topic.
Yeah,
to
so
end
like
with.
yeah, we're ending
We
with this
promised.
one.
We promised this was not a legal podcast.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
all we've been
I know.
talking about is kind of legal
Professional
stuff,
stuff, yeah.
voting, and then all
Jury
that stuff,
duty,
and the bar. But
elections.
yeah, no, I think that that's a very interesting topic about because I know some people, not gonna name any names, but that only like to date people of their race.
Or no, of one race. Let's say one race.
That's,
I feel like their race is kind of just
it sounds worse, huh?
no. It just is just like some people only
So
date
for me,
other races. They don't date
Yeah.
their own race. Like
Yeah.
I see that a lot. I don't like.
I think it's a little weird when people only date people of their own race. I
Or
think you
one
should
race.
get out and you should get to know people, and it shouldn't matter on like because you're limiting yourself if you're like I only like people of this race. I
Like
only
white
like white people.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you know how many billions of awesome other people you're taking out of your
Yeah.
dating pool,
That
and you're
also
just
leads-
mentally putting that on yourself? Like, no, open your doors up, get to know some other people. And I think if you're saying that, that's because you haven't really truly gotten to know people of other races and gotten to know someone. That's just what I think.
Okay.
I feel like it totally leads into racism too when you start that like you start categorizing people.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Like, don't ever
Um,
say anything like only this race.
Yeah.
If you ever say I only this race, I only play hockey with white people. Like
It's really good.
I would
I don't
never.
think it's- I
I
think
only date.
It's
White
not
people, like-
necessarily bad to like only date. I mean, to date other races, but I know personally, me,
Tell us about
I
your
know
personal
I'd like
life.
to end up with a black man.
Why is that?
I don't
Why
know.
would
I
you
just
like to end up with a black?
I
man?
love the concept of black love, and I want to have a black child, and like a fully like I want to have a child that looks just like me. It's like chocolate, and
Or you could have like a really cute little light skin with some green eyes.
I'm not. That doesn't appeal to me. I feel like that's kind of like, it goes back. I feel like to like slavery times. Whenever like if I'm fetishizing the idea of having a cute little light skinned baby with light eyes, I'm fetishizing the idea of having a more white looking child, and that's just not what I am. And so I want my child to look more like me.
Hey,
So
I
Hey,
think
to each their own.
Yeah.
I
to
think-
each their own.
I think people are blurring the lines between just having an attraction to something versus
Yeah.
like I only date this race.
Yeah,
That's
because
such a silly concept.
Yeah.
No, it's because you're attracted to people who look like this,
Mhm.
whatever that is.
And to me, again, when on the opposite side of that, I understand you have attraction. Don't get me wrong. Everyone says I have a type, and if you look at my Instagram, you'll see that I kind of have a type.
Yeah.
And anyways, I have dated. And
Let's all get on that.
Yeah. I have
Let's go look
dated
at his Instagram.
girls of all different races, and I find women of all different races attractive, and so and I think that part of it is also getting to know people of different races and stuff like that. I've been with women who are from Africa,
Mhm.
Somalian, African,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
so like completely different. And at first, for me, I was like, it's totally different culture, totally different type of person, whatever. You get to know them, and they're, there's lots of, everyone's different, and there's something to love about everyone. And I think that for everyone, talking about you, Haley, get out there and get to know everyone you can.
It's true.
Everyone.
You
And
never know.
don't ever
I've-
shut the door on
I've
someone.
actually gone on a date with a white guy
Oh, you
a
went on one
long time ago when I lived in Texas, like a long time ago, and that was an experience,
Was it horrible?
No, I mean, I got in the car and he put on Lil Wayne and he was like, "So, what's your favorite song?"
He's
on
like,
this
yo,
album?
I love Lil Wayne, bro. He's like, what's
He's
up?
like, "What's your favorite
And
song?"
he's like swearing, and he's like saying the N word.
And like, I don't necessarily just love Lil Wayne, so I was just like,
He just
I don't know.
automatically thought you liked Lil
Yeah.
Wayne.
And so, I mean,
That's
That
hilarious.
was an experience, but that was the only time.
But you have to like Lil Wayne. Who doesn't like?
Yeah,
Lil
I like Lil Wayne.
Okay. I thought you were
So,
about to be
he was
like,
trying to
I hate Lil
relate.
Wayne.
He was trying to
I'm like,
relate, and that was, I guess, cool. But this is not.
See, you know what?
Not
That
for
wouldn't have
me.
even like if I went
not
on
for
a
me.
date. If I went on a date with like a black girl or a Mexican girl, I would never even like get in the car and be like, "What music should I put on?" I don't know why. That just wouldn't even come through my mind. But the girl, on the other hand, sitting there like, he put this song on specifically. Like men and women are
He
just
asked
different.
me. He asked me. He was
Okay.
like, "What's your favorite song?" So, what's your favorite song on this? I love Lil Wayne, and I was like,
Trying too hard. Obviously, he really liked you and he wanted to impress
Yeah,
you.
he was just trying to
I
impress
think it's
you.
cute.
Doesn't have anything
Okay.
to do with
Who
race,
is this
that's
guy?
for
Let's
sure.
can we
No.
whoever this guy is, if you're out there and
It's
you're
not.
listening, hit Haley up because you guys deserve a second chance.
okay.
Clearly, he really liked you. Trying so hard, trying to put the right music on and everything.
Anyway, what about
And
you?
the dating world now is so easy to do that because dating apps.
Yeah,
It's so much easier to
just-
explore your options. For me, I always said that I had a type.
Mhm.
Not that, but I never said like I would only date a
Mhm.
certain race. Yeah, I think that
It's
that's
not bad to have a type.
yeah. There's not
That's your opinion. That's how you feel. That's what you're
naturally
attracted
you're
to.
gonna have a type. Naturally, you're gonna have a type.
It's weird.
If you-
I totally don't have a type, even though people think I do. And I
You
said
said you
if
have a type.
I know. I said if you look at my Instagram, it looks like I have a type. I don't. Like I would love to have a girlfriend who's Indian, not Native American, Indian.
Yeah, Indian.
Mhm.
Love that culture. Think it's cool. Love everything about it. Would love to date an Indian girl. So any Indian girls out there, hit me up.
Yeah,
Okay.
Slide
let's
in
hit
the
him up. Well, we should create you a dating app profile.
Speaking of
and
dating,
then
though,
talk about it
talking
on
about
a
that,
podcast by a daily.
Let's do it. We should.
And then humiliate him and send
He's
a whole
single,
bunch
I
of
you
bet.
guys could do
messages.
that, and then that could be a whole segment of the podcast.
Yeah.
But no, dating at our age is totally different. I mean, me and you were in our 30s. You're
25.
25, so you're getting to that. I mean, once you get out of college and you're out 25 and over, I think dating really starts to change. You're really not there, more so as you get closer to the 30s, but it changes because
Yeah.
you're not going out as much, you're working, you have real life shit to do, maybe you have kids, maybe you have a family. Like, before when I was in college and stuff like that, it's like, you break up with a girl, it's like, who cares? The breakup's done and over with. I'm on to the next girl tomorrow night when I'm out at, a party or a bar. As our age, it's totally different now. I mean,
Yeah,
That still happens.
You're just having fun.
do you think it's harder to date? What do you think? I mean, you have only been with your boyfriend for like a year, right?
Less than a year.
Okay, so
Um,
you're pretty familiar with it.
Yeah, is it harder to date in what sense?
Meet people, meet someone that you're interested
As a
in.
professional, you're busy.
Oh, yeah.
You were obviously, when you met him, you were an attorney.
I understand the question now. I apologize. I got there.
You think I meant like it's harder because you're
I
like
don't know. We were
old
talking
and
about
raggedy?
race and
She's
then
like
dating.
thinking it's so hard for me to meet someone because no, that's not where I was going with that.
No. I think it's really difficult to date because you've grown to the point where you know what you want to do with your life, and what you
Very
need
true.
to now find is someone who supports that, someone who encourages you, and someone who's going to be able to live the life that you want to live, and they're looking for the same thing.
Yeah.
And finding
Someone on the same page.
finding that recognition in each other's soul, I guess, is really, it's more important as you're older.
Yeah.
Because when you're in college, you're just like reckless, doing whatever you want to do.
Yeah, you get out your system in
partying.
college.
Yeah, so I definitely think it's more challenging to date when you're in your 30s because you really feel a lot of pressure from all your friends getting married, having children, and if that's something you look forward to and you're not quite there yet, can really put a mental block on what's really important.
Well, you have to think about like your career and what do you want? Are you looking to get married? What is his career like for you girls? What is his career? Because you're in your 30s. Like he has a career. In college, you're like, even in law school, it's like, yo, we're both here, but once we're out of law school, it's like, yo, what does he do? Like, is he a lawyer? What type of law
Is he
does
on
he
my
do?
level?
Is that yeah?
You kind of want them to be a kind of even playing field.
Oh,
I would
see.
never want to be with another lawyer.
Well, I mean, and
Yeah,
I mean,
it
if
sounds
you
awful.
were
Yeah, it's always
the
like they're good
area
at
of law
arguing.
that they go into, it's like, oh, they're a criminal defense attorney. They're in court every single day. They can't really ever take vacations. Or are they, a defense attorney who's going to be in a 6-week trial, or a civil defense attorney, So it makes it much harder. In college, you're like, I don't care. We're all just students here, And even after that, it's like we're all in our first couple jobs afterwards. Like we're all experimenting and stuff. So it gets more difficult. You have to think about that thing, and then also the time. Like, where are we going to find the three of us? Let's say all three of us were single right now. Where are we all going to find the time? We can barely find the time to do a podcast for an hour.
That's why it's nice when you date someone who's actually in your field doing the same thing as you, because you guys have the same no time.
Yeah, but then you spend too much time with each other.
Yeah.
There has to be a divide. If you're working with someone and stuff.
Some people think it could be
girls
time.
probably love that. I'll tell you from the guy standpoint though. Like, you need that breath.
Yeah.
You need time apart. I could never date a girl that I worked with or went to school with.
Okay.
I think that people...
Speak on it. What do you gotta say? It sounds like you got something to say.
No.
Like, okay.
Keep going. You can go. I don't want to get into that.
Okay, what is it?
That thing.
We can edit it out.
Right?
No. What were you going to say?
I just think that people, misconstrue lawyers sometimes. Like, they think that we're just crazy for no reason. Like, we're crazy busy, everything's hectic. Sep said to me once, he's got a lot of lawyer friends, and obviously his girlfriend's a lawyer. And he goes, you lawyers just fuck around all day, and then when a deadline comes, you start freaking out. And I thought it was hilarious because it was so true.
That is kind of true.
I can kind of see it in the office.
In school and in office, even in school.
It's so true. So when you're under that type of stress, like when you're operating, when you're living your life the way you litigate, okay, there's not a lot of time to date. I barely have time to spend time with my baby now, let alone if I was like didn't have someone and I was like searching for that, which takes time and it's like a job.
I feel bad texting you.
Why?
Because you're busy.
Oh, I know.
Like, especially in the middle of the day, and I'm like saying random crap in the middle of the day about the podcast.
She doesn't respond until later, and she'll be like, "Sorry, guys."
I'm just like, I can only imagine. She's like in the middle of a trial, and she sees her phone ringing,
like,
and it says
blown up.
Michael Royer, and she's just like,
Michael
her attorney's right next to her reading what I'm saying, some weird crap, like. Yeah.
Well, you know what?
Prostitution.
You can seriously. You can text me as much as you want. Just know that I won't text you back until after I can actually have an opportunity to text you. That's all. But yeah, don't say that you date within your own race.
Get out there.
Get out there.
Because like I
but if you want to say, you can say it. It's okay to say what you want to say.
We're saying no, you can't.
Exactly.
But no, in all seriousness, and it's coming from a guy I've literally dated and I don't know how, like, hooked up with women of all different races.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, they're women of all different races are beautiful. They all have different things about them that I've loved. I've learned a lot from all of them, and I would think it would be doing a disservice to yourself if you lived your whole life only. Obviously, if you fall in love with someone at a young age and we're with them forever, then great. But if you're dating, get out there. Meet people. And don't ever close the door on someone just because of maybe their race.
Join dating apps. I was so against them for so long.
Well, yeah, for us, it's kind of like we didn't really grow up with that.
Exactly. Like when dating services were around, it almost had a bad stigma to it. And there was only like eHarmony, Match. Yeah, you would see commercials for them, and you would think it would be
Farmers Only.
It seemed like it was more of like an older thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, but more people our age are doing it.
Yeah. Well,
now they have Tinder and Bumble and everything.
Yeah, now it's just a little out of control.
It just seems like
my challenge for this podcast is going to be Haley to go on a date with someone of a different race.
That's what you're gonna do.
Sabrina, I love you. You're like, that's what you're gonna do. I'm throwing it out there as a challenge.
And then we're gonna sign you up for a bunch of dating apps.
I hate dating
And then
apps.
you're gonna tell me in a couple months how much you actually enjoyed it and how you got a lot of free dinners and a lot of red wine. And then we can talk about which ones you. And talk. Maybe speaking from personal experience.
You sounds like you
know. A lot of free dinners, a lot of red wine.
Sabrina's like, yo, she tells the guy, yeah, let's go have dinner. Bring 2 bottles of wine to dinner on the side.
Red wine.
And then we'll do the dinner, and then you take the bottle, and then he's like, okay, we're going to go back to yours. No, those are just mine.
Those are my gifts.
So totally for fun, when I created my first dating app, I did it with one of my best friends, Megan. And we were messing around on it, and I'd never been on a dating app, and for like a week I've had on my profile that I like steak. I changed it.
People can take you to steak.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? Sabrina's a very upfront person. Everybody knows that about Sabrina. I was just get cut to the chase here. But I'm telling you, we'll circle back on it, see what you thought about it.
Well, the other thing is you grew up in Houston. You grew up in Texas.
Yeah.
Okay? So I think if you grew up in New York,
or in California, it may have been different.
You may feel differently about that. in New York, it's such a melting pot.
Yes.
I can't imagine,
Yeah.
you know,
It's huge.
someone there who wouldn't have the opportunity to meet someone that they felt like attracted to of a different race.
Yeah.
Maybe it's different in Houston, in Texas, because there's not as much of a melting pot, and that it's not that there's maybe it's more segregated. I don't know. I don't really know Texas that well, but what do you think?
I don't know. I just love black men. That's what it is. I don't think it's like the melting pot thing. It's just, I mean, they're very attractive, you know, men of other races. Like I'm not saying they're not attractive or anything like that, but it's just, I just don't see that in my future.
You know, I've also experienced is parents who affect that their children's dating.
Oh no, my
and
mom's
tell their children
she's
like,
not like that.
You can only date, you know, within the race.
But I can see
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I
That's-
can see that. I can see that happening.
That's
Which
very
to
culture
me
based.
is, I think, messed up. Like, don't tell your kids that.
Yeah, you know, we're deviating. Especially our generation is really took an extra step to deviate from traditional cultural views,
Yeah.
and it is important. I dated someone for a brief period of time that was very culturally dominated, and his whole family was, you know, very specific about dating within the race, and it took time to even like bring me up.
Yeah.
And then, but then I got into it,
Yeah.
and I thought that maybe I would be able to handle it, but I was like, this is so stupid. Like, the effort that it takes for you to get me to like me, like, I'm a likable person,
Yeah.
you know? So, I don't need to deal with this.
I feel like that's another thing, another aspect of dating out of your race. You're gonna have to deal with that family, and the family may not vibe with you like that as well as it might vibe with someone who wasn't out of the race.
Yeah.
Like if I dated someone white, say in Texas, and like we loved each other, and then I went and met his family was like, ugh, what are you
What's like that
doing?
movie? What was the movie with Ashton Kutcher?
Oh, I love that movie.
And is it
it
Bernie
was like,
Mac or something?
Oh,
I
yeah.
love
She
that
brings
movie, and
him
Zoe
home.
Saldana.
And he was like they couldn't do
It was a good
anything
movie.
right, but they loved each other and stuff. So
There's a bunch of
Yeah.
them like that. Though.
personally, I would love to get to know, you know, a family of a totally different culture, even if they were like a little like, no, we're not cool with our daughter dating someone like maybe a Middle Eastern or Indian family who's like, we kind of wanted her to stick with someone who's like Muslim. But it's like I would like
That's
to get
true.
to know that
Different
religion,
religions are like
and
that,
I would like to get to know their culture, and I think that would be a really cool aspect.
Or like Jewish people, they only want their
It's, you know, it's interesting because a lot of culturally traditional, like a lot of traditional cultures, rather, like some of them practice the same religion as a different culture, but they still won't accept them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know, I've heard of that where, you know, let's say Middle Eastern family practices a certain religion, let's say Catholic, they were Catholic, like, say they were born and raised in America, right, for the most part, and they followed Catholic religion, but they wouldn't necessarily accept a non-Middle Eastern person to come into their family, despite the fact that they both are in the Catholic religion that
Mhm.
also says that you should treat others like
Yeah.
equally.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense, right? Because it's all driven by their culture. And, you know, for some people, we're not knocking on it. Like, if that's how they, you know, choose to live their lives, that's great. But, you know, more modern, our generation has kind of stepped away from that because sometimes it's not always in the other person's interest, right? There are families that are dictating how their kids are going to live, and it doesn't give them individualism. It doesn't allow them to grow up to be who they, you know, truly want to be or what they want to do.
Okay, great point. And I want to say, transitioning into something different. Can I? That was an awkward transition, wasn't it? Fuck.
Yeah.
I guess we're gonna
That
have
was
to edit
we'll edit that out, but because that was our last topic. So, and we're at an hour.
Yeah, we're at it.
Yeah.
Alright, so I was gonna say I came up with a really good idea for an app, and I'm an idea guy.
It's like
I'm
I'm
always
gonna say
coming up with like
Are
sick
you sure you want
ideas.
to air it out to the public?
Yeah, right.
I'm never gonna do
But
it.
we're gonna
so-
edit it out anyway because it's going over an hour. So you can go ahead and
Well,
say it.
just hear me out. Maybe this will be like a segment that we'll like to continue on,
Okay.
where it's like Michael's minute, where I say like in a minute an
We're gonna get a
idea.
whole bunch of minutes.
Michael's $1 Million Minute. It's a segment where I say like a really good idea for some type of new business or app. The idea I have is an app that takes gift cards that have below $5 on them, and you have an app and you load them up there, and then when you hit a certain amount of money, it gives you a gift card to one place specific. So let's say you get a $15 gift card to Dunkin' Donuts. You barely ever go to Dunkin' Donuts.
I love Dunkin' Donuts.
Me too.
You go into Dunkin' Donuts.
So good.
So good.
It's $15 gift card. You go into Dunkin' Donuts twice, and you've spent like $13.75. So you have $1.25 left over. What do you do with it? Maybe you use it the next time you go in. You get a $5 order and you put it toward that.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't really go to Dunkin' Donuts that often. Maybe you have a bunch of gift cards laying around your house that all have like $2 or $3 on them. You use this app. You literally just take a picture of the gift card and it scans it, and then it loads it up into your little account, and you can then change it in for a gift card of like a large value. So you get like 10 little gift cards together, adds them all up into like a 20.
I feel like the company wouldn't want to lose that money because they're not getting that money.
They get.
No,
the
I
money.
guess they got the money when you pay for the gift
Yeah,
card.
they got the money when you pay for the gift card. And now what happens is, if it was big, everyone's doing it. Then they're basically all these little gift cards are getting pooled together. Someone in New York has a gift card, a Dunkin' Donuts gift card with $1.50, and yours has $1.50, and then someone over here, all of them go together, and then out of that pool, someone's like, "Oh, I want to trade all mine in for Dunkin' Donuts. I go there every day." So now they're trading all theirs in for Dunkin' Donuts. And
someone out there,
the app takes 5% off all of it.
That's interesting.
Because honestly, I've thrown gift cards away with like 50 cents. I remember I went on Reddit one time. I had you know what Reddit is, the website? I went on Reddit and I was like, I was like, yo, I have a gift card with 50 cents that I'm never going to use. What do I do with it? Here's the code if anyone wants it. Like, 50 cents.
That's interesting.
You lose them. You're going to lose it.
Someday, in years from now, somebody's going to be a millionaire over your idea.
So
Michael's $1 Million Minute. New segment. Every week I'm going to come up. Every week I'm going to come up with a sick
new idea for somebody else.
Some type of app or something like that.
For somebody else to
Stay
use.
tuned.
I'm not going to use it
to
myself.
become a millionaire.
I'm going to give it to you guys. So with that, thank you for listening and watching another episode of Not a Legal Podcast.
Not a legal podcast, and we're not going to talk about legal stuff.
Yeah, except we did all day. But it's okay.
Pretty much. But we put it in the context of like everyday perspective, at least we try to, so that everybody realizes we're not that serious.
So, thanks for
Yeah.
listening. See you next time.